Okay, well, time at 11.
There's nobody down there right now. I was gonna go back down. You wanna hop on, and drink?
No,
No, you can order sometimes.
can I get Roland your cell phone number?
So I can sit.
Saw him standing on the corner the other day.
Oh, yeah? For a bus?
Or what? I was in a hurry and just thought of that.
Uh-huh.
I'm very paranoid that the slides are not big enough. So I'm gonna work. The words are all, it's just whether the slides.
Would you say that darkness? To me, it felt like much of the stage. See, I stepped to the motion of the
Also because they were never changing the set that they were taking some parts, you were bringing your eyes to one part or the other to distinguish different places. So that But she certainly was aware of the original.
Yeah.
Because Champagne was going to go to business.
Yes, right. I was intrigued with this each piece of
I noticed that
I didn't interpret it as when he told it and stretch it. Usually we'll end up looking through it. But he always brought it in.
Oh, breakfast.
When it was only just now talking about the more recent, this is some.
You know what's Ted Lasso?
Yes. TikToks that people.
Good morning, friends. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy November. Welcome to our multi-platform worship service. I'm Reverend McKinley Sims, and I did not get to sleep in like maybe some of us did this morning. That's okay. I'm glad to be here. I use he, him pronouns. It is wonderful to be together on this morning when we are celebrating our annual service of Remembrance. So if you brought a picture or a memento of someone who has passed away in the past year and you have not brought it up to our memorial table, at any point during the service, if you would like to do that, you may. There will be lots of opportunities. If you didn't bring anything, that's okay too. There's going to be a chance to honor folks throughout this service. Big thanks to Mike Foy, who is running our AV Tech, wonderful Shay Dively, our intern minister, the wonderful Miss Elizabeth Ann Terry, who's offering our time for all ages. And a huge, huge thank you to Bruce and Linda Paula Johnson, who have slid in to provide music for us today on kind of last minute notice. So thank you all for helping make this service a possibility. Friends, settle in wherever you are. If you are joining us online, watching us on Facebook Live or YouTube a little bit later, if you're here in our historic sanctuary, we invite you to be present today. If you would take a second and silence any cell phones that you have, like I need to do, any pagers, beepers, fax machines, anything that's going to make noise and be a distraction from your presence here today. Because of our live streaming, please know that you are not alone in this sanctuary, that we are recording this service and it is going out to the internet. And please know that childcare is available with our wonderful nursery care team, and religious exploration will be available later in the service. Okay, friends, I need to take a breath, so let's all take a breath together and be present in this place. This is our affirmation, that we are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, which means we welcome all who welcome all. We are people of different faith traditions, humanist, theist, agnostic, and none. People of different racial identities, different gender expressions, and of all different ways of moving in and showing up in the world. We are people who make covenant promises to act together with love for transformation and healing. And we meet in this historically universalist sanctuary that means that everyone is welcome in this divine tapestry of love. Friends, if that sounds like the right place, you are in the right place, and we have been waiting for you. We are made more whole by your presence here. And for all of this, we are truly grateful. May our gratitude and these intentions be guiding lights this morning. Our call to worship invites us to consider the land upon which we sit or stand or live. This land stewarded by the people, the original people, from millennia before us. Let us take a moment to feel our feet on the floor here in the sanctuary or at home and connect with the land. For Lenape Hoking, for the Lenape people, for all of the stewards who take care of this earth, may we endeavor to be good neighbors. And when in doubt, may we re-find ourselves connected to this land. With gratitude and honor for those who came before us, let us enter into this time of worship.
In you congregations, we light a chalice to celebrate our coming together in love, to mark the sacred space and time of our community and invite the Spirit into our lives. We invite you to light a candle wherever you are today. And please read along with me if you feel moved to do so as we light our chalice with words from Robert French Levins. to face our ideals, to remember our loved ones in absence, to give thanks, to make confession, to offer forgiveness, to be enlightened, and to be strengthened. Through this quiet hour breathes the worship of ages, the cathedral music of history. 3 unseen guests attend: faith, hope, and love. Let all our hearts prepare them a place. Our opening hymn today is "I Will Not Leave You Comfortless," a chant that will come back throughout this service. So Bruce Pollock Johnson will help us with this congregational response now and later on during the ritual of remembrance. Please sing at home as loud as you will, and here in the sanctuary, remain seated as we learn this song together.
Let me sing it through this once for you. You probably are not familiar with it, and then we'll sing it probably a couple more times until we're comfortable with it. So, I will not leave you comfortless. I will not leave you alone. I am the air you breathe in. I'm the light of every star and every dawn. Try that. I will not leave you comfortless. I will not leave you alone. I am the air you breathe in. I'm the light of every star and every dawn. I will not leave you comfortless. I will not leave you alone. I am the air you breathe in. I'm the light of every star and every dawn.
Thank you, Bruce. We feel like we got that one. We're going to come back to it a few more times in the service, so you have plenty of chances to practice. It's our annual service of remembrance where we honor those who have passed away in the past year and take stock of the grief and the love that is left behind. This can be a heavy service, and it can be a joy-filled service. Those are both part of this process. So as we settle in, I'm going to invite us into just a moment of stillness and silence. And if you feel called to do so, to bring to mind someone who has died in the past year or maybe years on, simply bring them into this space, into your heart, and feel whatever you feel. That might be love, that might be grief, it might be sadness. You might giggle as you remember a funny story. That's all okay. Let's take a few deep breaths, center ourselves in silence and stillness as much as possible, and bring to mind those who have gone before. Come on back into this space as you are willing and able. With gratitude and grief all mixed in. Let's dive into the remembrance of our families, our friends, members of this congregation, with some time for all ages from the wonderful Miss Elizabeth Ann Terry.
I'm not from Texas, I'm kind of short. Oh my goodness. Good morning, beloveds. Offering a story from part of my family. I remember a Terry family story. Next slide. Can we have the next slide, please? We all have lots of questions, right? About everything. We're Unitarian Universalists. I mean, come on, we have questions about everything. So, like, I had questions about my family. Particularly, like, where did they come from? What's this name, Terry? Who are my people? Sometimes we get answers, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we find them ourselves. Next slide, please. Did it click? There we go. That gentleman is my daddy, John Alexander Terry Jr. And in that photograph, he's in his happy place. Up on a stream in western Pennsylvania, fishing. His happy place. He once said to me, because he was not a churchgoer, my mother was Baptist. He wasn't a churchgoer. And I said, well, why don't you have to go to church? I got to go to church. And he says, my cathedral is the woods. Can I get an amen for the cathedrals being in the woods? All right. Yeah. But, you know, it's like most African American families, they're clouded in mystery, pain, and intrigue. But he had some stories. My daddy was the griot, the storyteller of his generation, and he passed that on to me, and I put that on. I love finding out some of those answers. Next slide, please. There's this wonderful song. We're not going to sing it, and I'm not going to play it, but the information is there for you. I Remember, I Believe, written by Dr. Bernice Johnson Reagan from Sweet Honey in the Rock. And there's a really amazing version of it that I've also provided a link for you by Liz Tuzi's Right. I Remember, I Believe. And it opens with, I don't know how my mother walked her trouble down. I don't know how my father stood his ground. Whew. I don't know. I don't know how my people survived slavery. I do remember, and I believe. There's that thing about remembering and believing and remembering that, the two are together forever. And I feel like I remember my ancestors' joys and pains inside this body, inside this mind, inside this spirit. I remember, I believe. Okay, next slide, please.
I don't know how my mother.
The spirit of the universe said Liz Wright will sing. So, this is the national flag of the island of Antigua and the former British West Indies. Independence Day was this week, November the 1st, 1981. Yay, yay, yay. Took them a while, but it happened. So why am I talking about Antigua? Some of my answers were in Antigua and the British West Indies. A lot of people have answers to their families in the British West Indies. People, all kinds of people. So my father told us that that's where his daddy came from. And his father was a dock worker. It's an island. And he came to America in 1915. Somehow found his way to Western Pennsylvania, fell in love with my grandmother, and then my father was born 2 years later. John Alexander Terry Jr. Next slide. So my great-grandmother is a woman named Ellen Terry, and there she is pictured with her nephew. His name has been lost to time. I don't know his name, but his mama's name was Lucy. That I know. And I think that the family thing around hats, I come by it honestly. Next slide, please. And there he is. That guy who, as a young man, came to Western Pennsylvania to seek his fortune. Sort of the little thing that I'm talking is across the slide, but I hope you can see his gorgeous face. John Alexander Terry Sr. I will say all of their names eventually. Next slide, please. So there's some of my daddy's people and some of my mama's people, like they are all in me. All of those people listed, including my brothers James and John, have passed on. But they're all in me. Next slide, please. So, this year, last month, the Terry girls, me and my sister Merle Jean, in the orange hat, and she's in the other hat and in white, we are flanking two relatives that we found in Antigua last month. DNA had matched me up with some people here in the States, and those people in the States knew some people there. Like who are your people? Who you connected to? So we found that lovely lady in the middle, Miss Ernestine Terry, a distant cousin. She is 91 years old, and so I know that should I go to Antigua again, and none of us had ever been there, if I go again, she might not be there, but she will be with me. And she saw me, she saw my face, and she says, I know that face. So clearly this is a Terry family face. I didn't know. So it was just like an amazing trip where we were walking the streets where my grandfather was. We saw the port that he took off to come to America. And we found a number of different relatives. Miss Ernestine Terry, 91 years old. My people tend to live long, so there's hope for me. The next slide, please. So there's a question, right? It's a question for all of us. Young and old, we still have more to find out about who are we, who are our people. When I was a little kid and I'd be someplace where You know, they were just grown-ups and they didn't know me. They would ask me this question: who are your people? And they really meant, who's your mommy, who's your daddy? Who are your people? I hope that you find some answers. I hope that your family tree gets populated with leaves and blossoms and people from the past and people yet to come. Maybe so. I'm sitting down.
Oh my gosh, I get to be tall.
I make everybody look tall.
Thank you for that blessing. So we're going to enter into the sacred and hallowed ground of remembrance with hearts open, and wherever we are today, receive the love that travels from and to our ancestors, and the healing that love and the grace that love forever extends to us. Elizabeth Ann, would you please offer a blessing before we enter into this holy ground? Thank you.
This Sunday is called All Saints Sunday, or Holocaust in the Christian liturgical calendar. It is a time to think on and remember the lives of those who have died, but in their virtue and witness, show us how to live. At this point of the year, when many cultures celebrate feast days for the dead, honor ancestors, and proclaim that the veil between the spirit world and the physical world is at its thinnest, we take a moment to do the same. We're going to be honoring ancestors, remembering those we've lost, those who have helped us, loved us into being who we are. There's a musical response to the different phases of this ritual, and they are the words that we have heard and chanted as our opening hymn. Oh my goodness, there's more! I will not leave you comfortless. I will not leave you alone. I am the air you breathe in. I'm the light of every star and every dawn. Bruce will lead us through these words as a sacred response of love from and to our ancestors. And Bruce is already here. Thank you, Bruce.
You're so good. As Elizabeth Ann has reminded us, the lives of those we have lost in the past year, in the past 10 years, in the past 10,000 years are precious, worthy, and miraculous. And though they are yet gone, they are connected to us still. That's the promise and the experience of today's service. We are all interconnected. No one is truly alone, even when others try to divide or segregate us. Love calls us to be together and reminds us of our connectedness. And we are grateful for the gifts that we have received from our ancestors, the life they gifted, the love they shared, the wisdom they offered, the fortitude they instilled. These and so many other gifts that we rely on as we travel through the cycles of the year, as we journey through the stages of our life. We also acknowledge that some of our ancestors were broken or wounded in ways that we did not know or that we did know. And for them, we strive to reach a place where the ripples of trauma are healed, that we are the generation that bears witness to the pain, and commits themselves to the healing powers of love. Let us enter into this sacred, hallowed ground together.
So friends, what we're going to do now is a ritual that is in a few different parts, but it's going to be repetitive. So we're going to give you some framing of who we are calling to mind and invite you to listen to the ringing of the bell and to either name their name into the sanctuary if you feel moved to do that, or to simply hold them in your hearts or in your mind. We're especially thinking about folks who have died in the past year, but it's not limited to just that. So you might hear us say some names because those are people that I can remember right now and that we want to make special note of. But all names and all people are welcome in this space. And then in between each ritual, we'll have a pause and then we'll sing our congregational response along with Bruce. Does that make sense?
The words are in the order of service if we have them up on the screen.
The words will be shared to the screen behind me. Friends, we call the names of the members of this congregation who have passed on, starting with those we have lost in the past year, then the past few years, and then the past many years. Elisa Nocella, Arnold Bradford. I invite you to bring forward other names if they come to you.
Julia Medley.
Jimmy Lynn.
Gina Arelli. Steve Bloom. And Mike Trapp.
I will not be comfortless. I will not be alone. I am the air you breathe in. I'm the light of every star and every dawn.
Friends, we call the names of the members of our families that we have lost in the past year, in the past few years, and then the past many years. I invite you to bring forward any family members. Ben Shepherd.
Janita Royal. Annabelle Sutherland. Robert Pollock.
I will not leave you comfortless. I will not leave you alone. I am the air you breathe in. I'm the light of every star and every dawn.
We call the names of those who taught or inspired us personally, those we have lost in the past year, then the past few years, then the past many years. Please call forth those names of those who taught or inspired you.
Take that on.
Matt Reagan.
My parents.
Poetry singer.
comfortless. I will not leave you alone. I am the air you breathe in. I'm the light of every star and every dawn. We call the names of the members of this human and non-human family who inspired us with their lives, working for justice and peace. Those we have lost in the past year, then the past few years, then the past many years. Please call them forth.
Sally Rose. I will not leave you comfortless. I will not leave you alone. I am the air you breathe in. I'm the light of every star and every dawn.
I'm going to pray, and I invite Miss Elizabeth Ann and our children and folks who want to go to RE, if you would like to travel over to the Hale building, I invite you to do so. And I'm going to hum for a moment or two, and I invite you to just hum along with me, and then I'm going to offer a prayer that you are free to join in, however that means for you. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, all that is and all that remains yet to be. May the love that surrounds us and connects us to our ancestors, known and unknown, that connects us to one another, living in the present, that connects us to this good earth upon which we stand, that has been stewarded and guided and healed and held by the original peoples of this place for millennia. May we find these connections powerful, resonant, full of grief and gratitude today. May the memories of those who have gone on before us be a blessing, and may the God of many names and of no name at all be present in the love between us now, with every step forward into a future of beloved community. May we be the ones to make it so. Amen. Thank you, friends. Yeah, if we have any kids who want to go to RE, you are more than welcome to join Miss Elizabeth and our wonderful childcare staff over here. If you want to stay for the rest of the service, you are invited to do that. Parents, you can pick the kids up after the service over in the Hale building, which is on the other side of the building. If you need help getting there, we can help you get there. Hi, friends. We'll see you later. We'll see you over there downstairs. Before the prayer, I was crying, and now here we are. This is what it means to be human, friends. One of our UU theologians, Forrest Church, who was in New York City, wrote in one of his many books that being human and being religious meant the dual reality of being alive and having to die. That's what it meant to be religious for him. And that was something that we all experience and that we all know to be true, and that the great universal constant of humanity is change and loss and grief that we feel in different ways. This month's theme, our spiritual theme for November, is generosity. And when we take stock around the days of the dead and All Saints' Day, All Souls' Day, and our service of remembrance, generosity is not always the first word that comes to mind, because for many of us in white Western Americanized society, we think of money and we think of passing the plate in the congregation, which we will do and is important. But it's not the only thing that comes to my mind when I think about generosity. I had two friends die in February from cancer, both not much older than I am. And they were two of the most generous spirits that I've ever known. And it didn't have anything to do with their money or with giving to charity, but it was how they lived their lives. And I think we all know people like that, and we've all heard things like that. But when we think of generosity, it is so easy to fall into that category of thinking about, what do I have kind of physically to give away? Right? What do I have that maybe I don't need that I can give to someone else? And when I think about Josiah and Ben, I don't have a lot of photos of us. I don't have something that used to be Josiah's. The pictures that are up here on our memorial are of their families. And yet, something has been left behind. They gave me something. There was love and friendship and companionship while they were alive, and now there's this mix of love and grief that is left behind. And it feels strange to think that maybe what real generosity can be is the grief that is left behind when we die. And yet, what a powerful gift. What a sometimes terrible gift. And what a beautiful gift. We talk about being brokenhearted. And we are not good about grief in this country. There's a long tradition of death being closer to us and the process of death being closer to us, and everyone being more familiar with knowing someone who has died, knowing intimately being there when someone died. It used to be in your house, right? And there was the room where you would put the body after someone had died, often called the parlor. And then there was the room for the living room where everyone else was, because that used to be a part of life. So many indigenous peoples, so much more familiar with death than many of us who are white. And that ancient wisdom was colonized and restructured and lost. And we tried to push death as far away as we could, to try and get it out of our house, into the hospital, into prisons, away from us, to try and hide from it, I guess. And I wonder if that was losing out on the gift that grief can offer. And if that was in some way denying the generosity of the love of the people who have died before us, leaving behind broken hearts, fragmented by grief. Generosity in many ways is countercultural, right? It goes against the capitalist ideal of trying to hoard everything you can get, of getting out of the scarcity mindset of there is not enough and moving into an abundance mindset. It's in defiance of this hyper-individualism. It's a commitment to interdependence and reminding each other that we need one another. We are dependent on one another, that we live and move and die together. So if grief is a gift, even one that I don't always want, what am I called to do with it? Because that's the idea of generosity, is that you give of yourself, something that you have to give to someone else who needs it, that they in turn can then give something on, to pass it on. And while I don't wish any kind of grief for anyone, that is the reality, right? It's the constant. It's what we all experience. And with so many different ways of experiencing grief and wrestling with grief and moving through grief, for those who are familiar with, for example, the Kubler-Ross model of grief, those could be helpful things to think about. And the final process and the model that I'm most familiar with around grief, moving through anger and denial and depression and bargaining, to ultimately acceptance and then meaning making meaning of loss, of grief. I think that's part of our role as a religious community, is holding one another and helping one another find meaning. Not right away, and not every time, and not all in the same ways. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that it's ultimately a good thing that we lose people. I'm not saying that everything happens for a reason. I'm not saying that it's always better. I'm just trying to be open to the gift that my friends have left behind. When we think of ancestors, especially when people like me talk about ancestors, you should be slightly alarmed, slightly curious. But I think that is part of ancient and native, especially wisdom that we have lost, that this connection to our ancestors is not just about the supernatural or the unexplainable, but is the most human part of ourselves, that is this connection to people who go on beyond us, behind us, like Miss Elizabeth Ann was saying, that there's not just a spiritual connection perhaps to ancestors, but the physical connection, whether it's in hats, whether it's in the redness of my beard, my love of black pepper. It's not just Josiah's daughter's eyes. It is the humanness of it. All of it. And so what do we do with this gift? What do we do with this gift, if it is a gift? I read these words from Rabbi Sharon Brous. Talks about the need for public grief. And if grief is a gift, and she talks about a world of violence, a world of bombs and guns and terror, a world heating and overheating, a world that is dying and a world that is being reborn. Public grief is an act of rebellion against the world as it is. It means not letting people disappear from this world. We need to grieve. We need to grieve. We need to grieve. Likewise, Adrienne Marie Brown speaks of tears and grief, saying, remember that your body is made up of water and flesh and spirit. Remember, you are water. Of course you leave salt trails. Of course you are crying, so flow. And if there happen to be a multitude of griefs upon you, individual and collective, or fast and slow, or small and large, add equal parts of these considerations. That perhaps the broken heart can cover more territory. That perhaps love can only be as large as grief demands. And that grief is the growing up of the heart that bursts boundaries like an old skin or a finished life. That's what I'm trying to be open to. The generosity of my friends and family and all the names that we have spoken here. The generosity of the lives lost to violence that leave behind love-sized holes in our heart that are filled with grief. And rather than simply trying to push it away or push it down, to invite those people back in and feel the grief, even when it's public and you're not expecting it, to feel it as a reminder and a gift that they're not gone forever and always. That they're with us still somehow through the generosity of their lives and through the gift of the love they leave behind. Friends, I don't know what to tell you what to do with your grief. I don't know how to tell you what to do with your grief. I don't know how to tell you how to grieve. I just know that it's necessary. And it's important. And if we can do it together, that feels like pushing back on those forces that lead to more death in the first place. So I invite us all today, maybe it's later today, maybe it's later this week. If you feel something stirring in you from someone who has gone on before, if you feel you're getting a contact from an ancestor, maybe be open to it. To let your love and grief flow if you need to. And for those ancestors and friends with whom we parted on not good terms, if we had disagreements about politics, I think the gift of grief can let that flow away too. May it be so. I need a second, so I'm going to invite us just to breathe for a little bit. Bruce, can I throw you a curveball? Can we sing the response once more? Would that be okay? Sure. Is that okay? Yeah.
There we go. Let's take another moment to breathe, to feel the sacredness of this moment and how we have entered into holy ground, which invites our hearts to open and to be present with one another. Such deep, deep presence with one another. So now is the time when we collect our offering of financial resources for the good of this community, so that we can continue to do this sort of deep sacred work with one another here in this space and out in the world. And the ushers are going to go ahead and start the passing of the plates. We know there are many ways to give back to this congregation, and we encourage you to find a way that works for you. For giving of financial support, your money or checks put in the plate will be used to fund the ministries of this church. And any pocket change or other money that you designate for change online, or by putting them in the white envelopes in the pews, will be sent to this month's selected Change for Change organization, UU Justice, PA. More info is on the screen about how to give, and please know that if this is your first time with us, there's no expectation that you give anything other than a yellow contact form or letting us know how you found us and how we can support you. The offering will now be gratefully accepted.
This is a song by Dan Fogelberg. If you know the chorus, feel free to join us the last time. Only child, lone and wild, a cabinet maker's son. His hands were meant for different work, but his heart was known to none. He left his home and left his own and solitary way, and he gave to me a gift I know I never can repay. Quiet man of music, denied a different fate. He tried to be a soldier once, but his music wouldn't wait. He earned his love of sculpting souls took me years to understand. The leader of the band is tired and his eyes are growing old. But his blood runs through my instrument and his song is in my soul. My life has been a poor attempt to imitate the man. I'm just a living legacy to the leader of the band. Brothers' lives were different, for they heard another call. One went to Chicago, and the other to St. Paul. I'm in Colorado when I'm not in some hotel, living out this life I've chosen and come to know so well. Thank you for the music and the stories of the road. Thank you for the freedom when it came my time to go. Thank you for the kindness and the times when you got tough. Papa, I don't think I've said I love you dear enough. Leader of the band is mine and his eyes are growing old. But his blood runs through my instrument. The song is in my soul. My life has been a attempt to imitate the man. Just a living legacy to the leader of the band. I am the living legacy, the leader of the band.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Bruce. Okay, friends, it has come time to extinguish our chalice and in this part of our service. If this is your first time with us, or if you're kind of new here, please fill out one of the visitor contact forms if you feel like this has been a good experience. Can't promise you I'm going to cry every week during the sermon, but I can't not promise that either, apparently. If you're interested in learning more about what's going on at this congregation, or if you've been coming back for a few times and you feel like this is your spiritual home, we would love to make that official. If you are interested in learning about membership here, please come and talk to either me or Shay. If you want to know more about what's going on, we have announcement slides coming up. You have announcements in your order of service, and then we have coffee hour downstairs. So we invite you to come and hang out downstairs if you are feeling called to do so. That is also where the restrooms are. So if you need a bathroom, down the stairs to your right, or the handicap accessible lift to your left. Friends, we extinguish our chalice with the words that are shared to your screen, whether you're here in the sanctuary or at home. Would you join me in reading them aloud? We extinguish this flame with gratitude for our ancestors, loved ones, and mentors, for their gifts of spirit and body. May their light burn on in us, and may it never be truly extinguished. I am clearly in need of some peace. So we're going to sing, closing hymn is number 100. It's in the gray hymnal if you like to have the music in front of you. It is Peace Like a River. I think we're doing all the verses that are there. So you follow along. Thank you, Bruce, for leading us in this.
I got
Friends, thank you for being here today. May we go in love and peace to make the world a better place and to live so generously that our love remains long after we are gone. May it be so. Amen. Have a great week, friends. We'll see you next time.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Well, because I really like being able to, like, just now, I can use it in service. I came on and said, I didn't do it, so I can hear that, and I, well, I think my head, there's not pretty much all reason.